Hello and welcome to Inside the Dohyo Sumo podcast with me, Scott Finlay, and my awesome co-host, John Trail, where we were joined by one amazing guest in Teh from Sumostew. Part 1 of her episode's link is in the description, and sorry for the wait for part 2. It was my intention to upload it between Christmas and New Year, but COVID had other plans and completely beat the crap out of me. So I've redone the intro and I'm back now, getting back to myself fast. So here is part 2 with Sumostew, where we get her opinions on things like the Henka, does size matter, who's the next up-and-comer, what's next for her channel, and how you can support Sumostew. Enjoy.
To Henka or not to Henka?
Oh, I made a video about this, and until now, I still don't have a standpoint on it.
Okay.
You know why? Because the last basho that I've seen, there's not a lot of Henka that went on, except for this one wrestler who did it. Oh, you know what? Someone did Henka Enho, and I was mad at it. Like, the audacity to Henka Enho. And he was way larger than, everybody's way larger than Enho. And he Henka'd Enho. And that was awful. And it's like, okay, that's cheap. That's cheap.
But I know I say it a lot, but there are times where you have no choice but to Henka.
Enho. Enho.
I know, it's not fair, but if Enho was in the wrong position, you have to wait. Come on, stand up a little bit more. Okay, you're in position now. We can fight fairly. It's people do end up in funny positions, and the interesting thing was Ben Marshmallow, one of my compatriots. He did a study on Henka and how often it was used, and both he surprised himself as well that it happens a lot less than the grief they get for it. Like everybody gets condemned over it, and he analysed about 2,000 bouts or more just over the whole year, Makuchi, and divided them all up, and it was really quite interesting. It's not who you think.
I would love to get that analysis, please.
It's on.
Send you the PDF.
Yeah,
Send you the
that's so
PDF.
cool.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to that in this video, guys.
And
but yeah, I don't have a standpoint on Henka. I'm very neutral.
you don't have to. That's good to keep an open mind about it, because there are times where it seems villainous and there are times where it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Does size matter?
Like what? Like in sumo?
What was
In
that?
sumo,
I
does
was
size
breaking
matter in sumo? Are we talking about in general? Like
know, I
the
was,
diamond size? You know, there are a lot of sizes out there. Shoe size, maybe? Does size matter in sumo? Yes, it does. Because when I was doing my Hakuho video, I came across this beautiful analysis of this person who's just like basically a geek. And then he has this chart. He charted the BMI. Sorry, this is a little bit geeky, but he charted the BMI and the height of sumo wrestlers over time. And you can see why Mongolians have been, Scott was saying this a while ago, you can see why Mongolians have been dominating sumo is because over the history of sumo, their sizes that they are leaner but taller, as well as their mass, their muscle mass is much tighter, denser, I guess. That genetically is natural to Mongolians compared to, and most of the successful sumo wrestlers had that kind of genetic makeup and that body structure. And so yes, size does matter in sumo because there is historical data on it. And so that's my answer.
That's great, because I love those people that take the time to get some empirical data on it. I haven't done it for a while, but there was a stage where Dohyo was 10 kilograms heavier than the top division because they were making up for what they lacked in skill with size. And I was looking at it the other day during the tournament, and I thought, there's a lot of big guys in Dohyo, but then there's a whole lot of little ones that have dropped out of the top as well. So I'll have to add it up again, because it's quite significant. And then when Konishiki retired, I think the average went down 3 or 4 kilograms per Rikishi. That's how big he was. All right, well, Scott, you're ready to...
I'm ready to jump in and get a wee conversation going.
By the way, thank you for the questions. This was like, those are such good questions, I think, and I'm so it actually it's a good gauge that I'm actually not that much of a newbie anymore. I'm so happy about it. I'm really proud of myself.
I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't worried about it. I knew you could answer them, and every time we're actually it's giving us something else to think about. I mean, even Okinawa I have to look into more, and I want to find out about where he was from. The Oki Islands, they seem to have a very fascinating history behind them. Lots of warring clans and different periods with different shogunates and things, and they're tiny little islands off the coast of Japan. So that probably has a lot to do with his personality as well.
Yeah, so chill. And don't worry, when we inevitably get married, I'll introduce you to him.
All right.
But I don't know if Oshoru's going to be happy about that.
That's true.
I mean,
I'll do a Ryuden. I'll Ryuden it. Just go around the block.
Ryuden.
Aye. Oh, so Taylor, let me ask you this. So, see the last Basho, obviously it was the first one where everybody kind of knew, right, Hakuho is done and he's not coming back. And Terunofuji took the lead as the first sole Yokozuna. It was really, really the first time. So I heard a lot of complaints about people saying how they didn't feel any excitement at all, that from Hakuho walked, really? Sort of their interest sort of died down. And I mean, I can understand what sort of level that he brought to it, and maybe it's very disheartening when he walked away. And maybe it's because I'm an old sumo fan, that I've been a fan that long. I've seen it happen so many times that it didn't do that to me. I was super excited about everything still. And so when people were talking to me about this, and they were saying how they just didn't really feel it this time and that, and I was very confused by it. So how did you feel? See now that Hakuho, possibly the greatest Rikishi that's ever graced the dohyo, has now walked away, and Terunofuji's took the lead. Not only am I asking, are you still finding the excitement in sumo, but do you feel as if Terunofuji has stepped into that role well so far?
Okay, so how do I feel about Hakuho retiring was that when I saw him do his, in his security guard duties, I was very sad. Like I maybe was a bit teary, because I've only seen him once in a tournament, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It was mind-blowing. And I think a lot of people, even if they have been a fan, you've been following sumo for so long, you know that the July Basho was one of his best performances as well, right? It was really amazing with the way that he was, managing his injury and all of that. So it was definitely historical. And if you're a sumo fan like me, who the first Basho that I watched was the May tournament of 2021, and then seeing Hakuho in July and then not seeing him anymore, it's really sad for us. But in September, I did feel a little bit, the excitement did die down a little bit for September. I'm not gonna lie. It was just, there was just nothing, like it was just a little bit empty. It felt empty, but I think that's just the withdrawal symptoms of not having Hakuho there. And of course, how do you even follow up with the July Basho? Like, that's just such a big deal. And then now you have September. Of course, everybody was riding the hype, and then Hakuho dropped out. But then the November Basho was absolutely amazing. It was so cool. I felt as if we are definitely now coming into a new era. Like,
absolutely.
The Mega Shira wrestlers are now stepping in. Like, I don't know how, but I feel like after Hako is gone, September was a little bit withdrawally for them as well. They were feeling the emptiness too, I feel. But then in November, something just clicked in them, and they just had this confidence now, I feel. Like there's not this big, Mount Fuji that they have to, like something overshadowing them. Because, you're in the same position as the greatest athlete of all time in sumo.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have this feeling of like that pressure, but I feel like it lifted off them and they're like, okay, time to bring it on. And they brought it on in the November Basho. And I was so happy with like such a great closer to a really roller coaster ride of a year. It's amazing. I think it's just, I don't know what people are on about. I think they were just not paying attention.
I mean, I know COVID and that came in this year, but this year alone, we lost 2 Yokozuna and gained one. No, I mean, and gained one, and it's definitely been exciting. And what you were saying there in your answer, you used the analogy that they've no get kind of like Mount Fuji to climb. But have you seen Terra Fuji? I mean,
no. I'm saying. I'm saying.
Oh no, I know what you meant. I just.
As Mount Fuji, yeah.
Oh no, absolutely.
Sorry.
I know what you meant. Hakuho is a completely different level, and I knew what you meant. But obviously, I was trying to come in with the wee pun that you used. No Mount Fuji to climb, and he's Terra Fuji.
He is the Mount Fuji now.
You ruined my joke. But it brings me to my next point that I have brought up to our last two guests as well. That Terra Fuji is basically half to 3/4 of a man at best. Right, his knees.
Sorry, what? Pardon?
Terra Fuji is maybe half a man, 3/4 of a man physically, like with the physical capabilities of his body, just because his knees and his diabetes, because obviously that's a fluctuating illness that always needs constant care as well, and that can't be easy for him to manage with the diet and the exercise that he'll need to maintain to gain that sort of muscle mass, especially for somebody diabetic. My friend is diabetic, and he is struggling to put weight on all the time because your body just can't intake what may be required to do that. So, I mean, hats off to him for that alone. But even with the knees, how dominant he is being right now is
definitely.
And although there is guys coming up and rising up, I really think that a lot more should be stepped up, considering that this man is being so dominant with ill working knees, and that should give them something to strive for. That because in my head, see if it was me at the top and I knew that I was getting completely bitch slapped all the time off this man and he never even had their knee, I would be furious and wanting to work harder. And I'm hoping that this gives some of them the drive that they might need to push harder, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think Terra Fuji is a testament of how one can master your disadvantage.
Yep.
And yeah, he has busted knees, but he has developed a unique kind of style.
Yep.
That basically, because of his, like, he wouldn't have developed that if he didn't bust his knees. And he developed it so masterfully that now he's so dominant in the Dohyo, and I don't know, like seeing him as well, like his sumo was just so good. He was saying in his interview that I wish to have like I didn't display Yokozuna sumo, but I was like, no bro, like this is like, you looked like a Yokozuna.
Right.
You defended your like he had this defense like a Yokozuna.
Right.
It was pretty amazing to see. And so cool for a new fan as well. To, for the first time, I could feel what people were feeling when everybody was saying, Hakuho like is undefeated again. I kind of felt that way. It's like, someone has to beat Terra Fuji, but then at the same time you love him too. And I think I feel like as if I can relate to those fans now who experienced that with Hakuho and Nasashoryu, and some people with Chiyo no Fuji, that they was just remaining undefeated all the time. It's just amazing.
I no, that's a really good point and a fair answer. I think that there was definitely a lot of people, especially wanting Abe to defeat him. But see, and again, I brought this up again the last podcast, that see the way Terra Fuji handled the Sappari guys, the pusher thrusters, Daisho and Abe both had him. They had him and they couldn't finish. Takakesho, I don't think he was ever in danger for Takakesho, but see at that one moment where Takakesho caught him with that push and sent him sliding straight across the Dohyo. See if Takakesho didn't have his back so near to the Tawara behind him, he may have got him out with that push alone. I mean, and it brings me to Takakesho and how I feel as if he's probably one of the most underrated Ozekis to walk, because he's always delivering Ozeki level bouts in sumo. And when he doesn't, it's because he's genuinely injured and has to pull out. And he's a one-trick pony, but he does it so well. He doesn't need anything else. He's maintained Ozeki with it. And you spoke about Shodai earlier on, about him, basically the Ozeki was basically Yokozuna without the rope, and you could lose your rank and that sort of status, and Shodai wasn't living up to it. And you says that people had said, but he'd held on to the rank so long. But has he? Like, in my opinion, has he? I don't think he has held on to it that long yet. For being an Ozeki, I really don't feel as if Shodai has been it that long. So I don't think that anybody could say, well, he's held on to the rank so long, and so that's his saving grace. I think that he's a backwards fighter, and a lot of his wins are sheer luck. I'll give him his due. In that Basho there, his last couple of wins were pure strength, but 90% of his wins in the last 6 months have been nothing but luck.
I call him the bare minimum Ozeki. The bare minimum.
So does everybody.
He doesn't really have any consistent rivals, and they used to have the Ozeki Back Scratchers Club, Chio Taikai and Kaya, kind of it's almost as if they conspired to keep in the in that rank so long. But the difference between an Ozeki and a Yokozuna is that, for me, is when, I mean, the Ozekis have to be very good at their attack, but that bout you were mentioning with Takakesho and Teruno Fuji, where Takakesho had him pushing him back towards the Heibaos, the Tawara, and then Teruno Fuji locks in. And what actually happens with a Yokozuna, especially with Hakuho, is the harder his opponents push on them, the more of their power they drain. And then the Yokozuna just steps in and chooses which throw he wants to use, because that's how good you are by the time you're Yokozuna, and then you throw them down. So a lot of them put so much effort into it, and you think, oh, they just missed out. But that is the power of Yokozuna, that they absorb the strength of their opponents, and then they go in for the kill.
Mm-hmm. That's such a cool info.
Aye, and very true as well. Very true as well, John.
Videos to prove it, and that when
I was just about to say that.
When they hit very hard, Hakuho only moves back 5 degrees, so they're hitting a brick wall. Aye. And the more they push, the more exhausted they got.
They
and
actually
as you say, it's only one bout, but it takes up all the adrenaline, all the psychological aspect of it, and everything. It takes a lot out of you. You're only fighting in a total of a couple of minutes at the most for 2 weeks, and but it takes a lot out of you.
See that video you're actually talking about, John, where Hakuho takes Itachi and stops it. They were actually saying that the equivalent of his stopping power is stopping a car going like 30 miles an hour, and he could stop it. And they were saying that is basically the equivalent to what he could stop, and his Tachi was the equivalent of 2 tons of pressure or something like that coming in.
Yeah, 13 G's. So they said a 3-story building onto concrete.
Aye.
So
tremendous.
Immense. I mean, the body can handle a lot. I think some of the line back, or what is it in American football, they can hit it some ridiculous amount of force. But because they're running at the time. But when you're only doing it over a short space of time, short distance in the Dohyo, to be able to generate that many G forces, I think a rugby tackle is 22 or something, and then the American football, that's the reason why they have to wear their motorbike gear, because it gets up to, I don't know, I can't remember, some ridiculous figure, close to 100 Gs or something.
Right, it is. It's crazy with all the years of putting their body under that same rigmarole, a routine, and it creates these absolute beasts standing in front of you, you know what I mean? And no normal man could even think to move them. Do you know what I mean? You'd be lucky to move one of their bits of fat in their arms to the side half the time. So let me ask you this, Tara. In your opinion then, because we've seen Terunofuji come crashing back up the ranks and take what was clearly rightfully his, who's next? Who's going to challenge him? Like, and we talked about the Ozekis, right? But even though Takakesho is a good Ozeki, I really don't think that he'll be much of a Yokozuna rival if he ever does make it. Shodai, no. But it doesn't even need to be at the top. See if you don't see any at Makuuchi, just say so and go lower if you want. Do you see anybody with the talent and skill and determination in your eyes that could possibly come there next? I was hoping it would be Kiribiyama, but my boy is not doing well.
He did a Wakataka Kage this boss. He just went Komusubi and then he just choked.
He did, but he'll be all right. He'll be back. He'll
young. Be fine.
And with Kakeru in his corner, it won't be long because he's already up.
Oho from Juryo, if he stays, I think he's a late bloomer because he was with Hoshoryu when he debuted, I think, but now he's just showing some dominance in Juryo, and he definitely displayed Makuuchi Sumo last tournament. And so I am definitely looking out for Oho as very, very much.
It was a wee sin. It was a wee sin what happened to the guy.
Yeah. Although Mitakeumi, this basho was so focused. He was like, oh, he looks like he's definitely going for a Nozeki run right now, and he looks like he is a Nozeki. His sumo has been very Ozeki-like.
Oh, definitely.
And so I'm excited for Mitakeumi to become Ozeki, but I don't think he can take on Terunofuji. I don't think he can.
No.
So I don't think he could.
And plus,
but he does look. But I am excited for him to be Ozeki. I was so much I was really backing for Hoshoryu this November. I don't know what happened to my baby, but he just did not deliver. But I don't know. I think that what Hoshoryu lacks is just experience and finesse. Like, he needs to be more, I don't know, confident in himself. And you can see that Hoshoryu's biggest thing is that he gets so self-frustrated. Like, he just has this frustration. Like, he pounds the Dohyo when he does like a mistake and stuff like that. And so I think as the years go on, I hope so that he stays for that long. I think he will become a really fine Yokozuna. Hopefully. I think
Hoshoru, I think the biggest thing with Hoshoru maybe mentally is his Uncle Shadow, which, see, even if anybody says, no, be your own guy, be yourself, do your own sumo or whatever,
difficult.
He hasn't ran far enough to be in the light again yet. He's still under the shadow. And I'm sure he'll get there.
He's 22 years old. He's 22. I remember when I was 22 and I was still figuring out myself. And I didn't have this uncle's shadow on me. And, you can just, it's just unfathomable how he could, well, but then as you grow up, he'll definitely get much a better grasp on himself. And especially if we become married, I will always support him and
of course
be able to help him develop his own
How many
styles.
goats would you like?
Sorry?
How many goats do you need as the wedding present, or how many liters?
I'm okay with only 32 goats.
Okay, but
that's not that bad.
I'll show you. He's changing every basho, isn't he? And
yeah,
he will have good ones and bad ones, but he does have his own style. I've seen him do these beautiful throws.
That's because he's a judo player.
I used to watch it and I go, he didn't move his feet. That's not possible. Because when you normally do a throw, you end up standing where they were. You could to be able to do it, you've got to put your hips in, step your feet around. he's done it without moving his feet.
Mm-hmm.
You go, that's not meant to happen. So he's got this incredible strength, and he's very tricky. And what was that very acrobatic one that he turned over?
He'd done Epion Zioi to Wakataka Kage, didn't he?
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. So
it was so amazing. It was sexy AF. But
I think it looks like you're going to have a Grandpa Genghis Khan.
I'm fine with having Asa Shoryu as my uncle-in-law. I mean, he's rich. He's filthy rich right now, so I'm like, that's fine. That's fine with me. Oh my god, can you just imagine if I actually get to meet Hoshoryu and he just knows that I'm simping for him? So weird. Just
don't go out to karaoke with them. Or don't stay too long.
So, Taya, we're going to wrap up the show soon because we're coming to that time already, as much fun as we've had. So we're going to get down to the last wee bit of it. So, with your channel, pal, the last time you were on, obviously me and you just had a wee sit-down interview, kind of let people know who you were. You'd come on the scene out of nowhere all of a sudden. Now you're gaining rapid popularity all the time. So, and obviously when we last spoke, you were kind of wanting to educate fans that don't know sumo or anything like that, but I've sort of started to see your videos, like your Rikishi spotlights and that, sort of not be more educate newbies and more educate people on individual wrestlers. And as you were saying, you've got plans for Kakeru and you've done all the Mongol Yokozuna and plans for Kisena Sato and things. So is that the sort of route, the direction you're going to now, where you're sticking to that road now? Because obviously there's nothing you need to set in stone. Nothing needs to be cemented. You can change it up any day you want. But I'm just saying, what's your direction now, so that everybody knows?
Definitely, I kind of want, like, my vision for the channel is like a holistic. I hate that word. Like a full.
Happy vibe.
I don't want to be branded as the channel that makes Rikishi biographies. That's why I try to, I came out with a video about Konoshin Suga, which I thought that was very, very interesting for me. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's about his like mysterious death and all of that. But the direction that I'm just going for right now is, again, they are diaries of the things I find interesting about sumo. And so if Kakuryu makes me interested, I'm going to make a video about him. Because Kisena Sato is interesting to me, I want to learn more about him, I'm going to make a video about him. But I'm definitely going to, and the thing is, the reason why I keep coming up with these wrestlers is because it's easier to learn about them. But then maybe in the future, I would love to make videos about like the technical side of things. Like a lot of people have been requesting it, like the Kimarites and stuff like that. I want to make that, but I don't think I am. I still have to get a good grasp of it, because I feel with this, as you said, there have been more people following my channel, and I feel like now I feel this responsibility that I have to be at least accurate about it and be careful of what I put out there, because if this is the first video that a new sumo fan come across, they might be carrying that wrong information all throughout their sumo fan life, So but for this technical stuff, I still need to be more exposed. I mean, I've only had like 4 basho that I've seen, so I think I still need a little bit more. But definitely, and then I want to touch up on the history. I want to touch up on the religious aspect of it. As I said, sumo is so simple, but at the same time complex, that it will never get you bored. There's always something new to learn. And because I love statistics and I love this compilation of data, and data analysis, I think I also want to come out with videos about analyzing like the history of like the sumo wrestlers' BMI and height and stuff like that. Like I have all of these things, but one at a time, because as someone has said, I might be unemployed, which is I'm not unemployed yet. So I'm doing these things, you know, in my free time. So but yeah, like just wanted to, and I'm enjoying it as well. I think the direction I want to go for sure is that I have to keep enjoying learning about sumo. And at one point in time, it does burn me out. You know, sometimes I don't find anything interesting about sumo, and so yeah, I just want it to be natural. And I think that's one of the things that I believe people enjoy about my videos, is that they know that this is natural. Like I am passionate about it. I am excited to talk about this topic. And sometimes I'm not excited about something. So some videos might take longer to come out. It's like your amateur sumo video, by the way, which is still in the making. The reason why it's not come out yet is because I cannot find like a good angle on it. And it feels like the Zoom interviews that I did not really like complete my image of amateur sumo. I feel like it's so much deeper than our conversations, and I think I need to witness a tournament, an amateur sumo tournament, to be able to like get a good concept of it, so I can put it out and it become more digestible.
Really exciting. The level of techniques that you will see is just incredible. That's why it really pisses me off when people go, oh, so-and-so needs to learn more technique. It's rubbish. The techniques you see from amateur sumo, is where a lot of the best rikishi come from, are just amazing. They do know them all, but just because someone drives straight forward instead of drifting or doing a wheelie or whatever, they think that there's something wrong with them. Like Takakesho, he still knows his other throws. He doesn't need to use them because they're riskier and they're not desperation throws. But there's some really amazing people coming out of amateur sumo, and they'll keep coming because it's the best way to nurture it, rather than going straight in without having any experience whatsoever.
It's so true. It's so true. See, some of the best guys in the world were doing amateur for teenage or being small, and then they come up always wrestling, and then they're the ones that have took it to the next level. I mean, some of them don't, because if you look at poor Shishi, he done well in the amateur scene, sort of, but that gives you an idea of the sort of scale level that it goes up to in the professional ranks, because he's stuck at Makushita now. Do you know what I mean? And so there is a completely different animal. But as John was saying, a lot of opinions about amateur are very unfounded, ignorant, or uneducated.
Yeah.
Or sometimes all of the above.
That's why I want to like give it a little bit more justice. And as I said, like right now, because you know I am gaining a little bit of a following, and not the following, but it's just the pressure that I put on myself. I want to put out quality videos, and I feel like if I edit the amateur sumo video right now, it wouldn't be the best that I put in. I feel like it needs something more.
That brings us to near the end of the day's episode. So Ter, I wanted to bring up your GoFundMe and the wee mission you're on to get yourself to Japan, which I think is fantastic. So tell us a wee bit about that so that we can let our listeners know and get you more support, pal.
So the GoFundMe is a response to the very, very kind people who wanted to support a Patreon, but I couldn't open up a Patreon because it's just too complicated. But the GoFundMe, I feel like, is a much better response, because at least people would know where the money is going, and you know, you can give a one-time donation rather than, you know, have subscriptions and all of that. And the money will go to purchasing sumo tickets. It will not go to my Japan holiday, even if, you know, that would be stellar and fantastic. But I would rather be more honest with the people who want to support me and just actually, if I do go to Japan when Japan opens up their borders, I will make a video of me using, showing, me purchasing the ticket and all of that. I think it's also a great video for anyone who might want to go to Japan and see sumo as well, and they could see how I did it if I ever get to do it. But I hope I can, and hopefully next year that things will definitely go out. So please, if you love the content that I make and want to see content with me in Japan in a sumo tournament, this is the way to go. Because purchasing sumo tickets, I want to purchase as much days as I can, and any donation will help with that. And I have so many ideas for the content I'll make in Japan, so especially in the Kokugikan, I'd be so happy with that. So this is the way to support the channel. Thank you.
Well, if anybody wants to support Ter and is feeling generous today, which I think is a great idea because she's on a mission to bring everybody a completely different view and aspect of sumo. And if you know her channel, you'll know that's exactly how she'll present it. So all relevant links to not only subscribe and follow Ter over in Sumostew, but also the links to her GoFundMe are all in the description below for everybody. So go there, show your support, and let's see if we can get Sumostew in Japan for a basho in 2022. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much to everybody for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share to get all the latest World of Sumo content, including our news show and Inside the Dohyo with me, Scott Finlay, and my co-host, John Trail. Thanks so much to Ter from Sumostew for joining us. Much appreciated. We had a great time with you today, my friend. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was such a good and informative time with you. I really, really enjoy it. I think I'm gonna listen to this again because I just love what John said about being Yokozuna and the difference between Yokozuna and Azeki. I'm definitely gonna take that and put it on a video.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome, yeah. But thanks everybody again for listening. Thank you to John, Ter, and we'll see you in the next one.